Captain Lee Hyun stood at the viewing window of the transport ship, watching the massive space station grow larger ahead of them. Nexus Prime was bigger than any city on Earth. Its metal walls stretched out like a small moon, covered in lights and docking bays. This was where the Galactic Council met to decide the fate of entire worlds. "First time seeing it?" asked Dr. Park Mina, walking up beside him. She carried a tablet full of notes about alien psychology. Her job was to understand how alien minds worked, but today she felt nervous about what the aliens would think of human minds. "Yes," Lee Hyun replied. "It's impressive. I just hope we can impress them too." Commander Kim Jun-ho joined them at the window. His military uniform was perfectly clean, and his face showed the calm confidence of a soldier. "We've prepared for months. Earth's best scientists, diplomats, and leaders have worked on this presentation. If anyone can convince the Council to let humans join the galaxy, it's us." The three humans represented Earth's first official contact with alien civilization. 5 years ago, the aliens had found Earth and studied humanity from a distance. Now, finally, they were invited to apply for membership in the Galactic Council. It was the most important day in human history. Their ship docked with a soft bump. The airlock opened with a hiss, and they stepped into Nexus Prime. The corridor was huge, built for creatures much larger than humans. The walls were a strange blue metal that seemed to glow from within. Alien symbols covered every surface, and the air smelled like electricity and something sweet. A tall, thin creature waited for them. It had gray skin, 4 arms, and large black eyes that never blinked. "I am Guide Morthex," it said in perfect English, though its voice sounded like it came from a machine. "Follow me to the council chamber." As they walked through the station, they saw other aliens for the first time. Some floated in the air without wings. Others had shells like giant insects. A few looked almost human, but with different colored skin and extra fingers. All of them stared at the humans with curiosity or something that might have been discussed. "Don't let them intimidate you," Park Mina whispered. "Remember, we belong here just as much as they do." The council chamber was enormous. 3 raised platforms held the representatives of the 3 most powerful alien races in the galaxy. The chamber could hold thousands, but today only a few dozen aliens sat in the viewing areas. All eyes were on the humans as they walked to the center of the room. On the first platform sat Councillor Vextar of the Vorthak. The Vorthak looked like humans, but taller and thinner, with pale blue skin and no hair. They were known throughout the galaxy for their logic and intelligence. Vextar's face showed no emotion as he watched the humans approach. The second platform held high-voice Zelmoth of the Kalari. The Kalari were insect-like beings with multiple arms and wings. But Zelmoth was special. It spoke for billions of Kalari who shared one mind. When it talked, it was really billions of creatures talking at once. On the third platform was War Prime Korth of the Threx. The Threx were the warriors of the galaxy. Korth was huge, with thick gray skin like armor and red eyes that glowed in the dim light. Scars covered his arms and face from countless battles. "Humans of Earth," Vextar began, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You have requested membership in the Galactic Council. We have studied your species for 5 of your years. Today we will test your fitness to join civilized space." Lee Hyun stepped forward. "Honored counselors, we are grateful for this opportunity. Humanity has much to offer the galaxy. Our creativity, our determination, our ability to work together despite our differences." "Differences," repeated Zelmoth, its voice like the buzzing of 1,000 insects. "Yes, we have observed your differences. You fight wars over opinions. You make decisions based on feelings instead of facts. You waste energy on art and music when you could be solving practical problems." Kim Jun-ho's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. They had prepared for this kind of criticism. "Let us begin the testing," announced Korth. His voice was deep and harsh like grinding stone. "We will examine your emotional responses to various scenarios. Your reactions will determine if you can think clearly under pressure." The first test began immediately. Holographic images appeared in the air above the humans. They showed scenes of Earth's history, wars, disasters, moments of great suffering. The aliens watched carefully as expressions of sadness and pain crossed the humans' faces. "Observe," Vextar said to the other counselors. They show physical weakness in response to mere images. Their faces change. Their breathing becomes irregular. This is inefficient, Parkmina tried to explain. These reactions show that we care about others. When we see suffering, we want to help. This empathy makes us work together to solve problems. Empathy is a flaw, Zelmoth buzzed. The Kalari eliminated individual emotions long ago. We share thoughts efficiently. No energy is wasted on feelings. The images changed to show humans at their worst. Acts of cruelty, environmental destruction, betrayal. Li Hyun felt shame wash over him as he watched, and he could not hide it from his face. Look how he suffers from merely seeing these images, Korth growled. A true warrior feels nothing when observing the past. The Threx learned long ago that emotions make you weak in battle. The next test was even harder. The aliens played recordings of human music and poetry, then asked the humans to explain why they created such things. This serves no practical purpose, Vextar stated. Resources spent on music could be used for technology. Time spent on poetry could be used for research. Why do humans waste effort on these emotional expressions? Li Hyun tried to answer. Art and music bring us joy. They help us understand each other. They inspire us to be better than we are. Joy, repeated Zelmoth with what sounded like contempt. Another inefficient emotion. Joy serves no logical purpose. Kim Junho could not stay quiet any longer. With respect, Counselor, joy gives us reason to fight. When we have something beautiful to protect, we fight harder to save it. Korth laughed, a sound like breaking rocks. You fight for feelings? We fight for victory. Emotions make soldiers hesitate. They make them weak. The final test was the cruelest. The aliens showed the humans videos of Earth taken from space, their blue and green planet turning slowly in the darkness. They showed images of human children, families, and friends. As the humans watched, tears began to form in their eyes. Incredible, Vextar said with cold fascination. They leak water from their eyes when emotionally stimulated. This is a severe biological weakness. It's called crying, Parkmina said quietly. We cry when we're sad or happy, or when we love something so much it hurts. Love, Zelmoth buzzed with disapproval. The most wasteful emotion of all. Love makes creatures act irrationally. It causes them to sacrifice efficiency for the welfare of others. Li Hyun wiped his eyes, no longer caring what the aliens thought. Yes, we love. We love our families, our friends, our planet. That love makes us strong, not weak. You are wrong, Korth declared. We have seen enough. Humans are emotionally unstable. They make decisions with their hearts instead of their minds. They waste resources on useless activities. They show weakness when they should show strength. The three counselors spoke quietly among themselves in alien languages. The humans stood in the center of the chamber, feeling small and exposed. Around them, the watching aliens whispered and pointed. Finally, Vextar stood up. The Council has reached a decision. Humanity is denied membership in the Galactic Council. You are classified as a Category 3 primitive species. You will be monitored but not contacted. Return to your world and do not leave your solar system. Your emotions make you unfit for civilized space, Zelmoth added. Perhaps in a few thousand years, you will evolve beyond these weaknesses. Korth's red eyes glowed brighter. If humans attempt to leave their system before the Council permits it, they will be considered a threat and dealt with accordingly. The humans stood in shocked silence. Months of preparation, humanity's greatest hope, had ended in complete rejection. Li Hyun felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced himself to remain calm. We understand your decision, he said carefully. We ask only that you reconsider in the future. Humanity will continue to grow and learn. As they were escorted back to their ship, Parkmina whispered, They're not superior to us. They're afraid of us. Afraid? Kim Junho asked. Think about it, she said. They've built a civilization without emotions. No love, no joy, no hope. When they see us feeling these things and still being strong, it threatens everything they believe about themselves. Li Hyun nodded slowly. As their ship pulled away from Nexus Prime, he made a silent promise. Humanity would prove the aliens wrong. Emotions were not weakness. They were the source of humanity's greatest strength. The first contact was over, but the real story was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the rejection at Nexus Prime. Earth had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The sting of being called primitive and emotionally weak had not broken humanity's spirit. Instead, it had made them more determined than ever. Admiral Choi Yuna stood on the bridge of the newest Earth ship, the EFS Determination. Through the view screen, she could see the construction yards orbiting Mars, where dozens of human ships were being built. When she was just captain, she had watched the first meeting with the aliens on her ship's communication screen. The humiliation had burned in her heart for months. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Base Seojin from his station, "the new quantum drive tests are complete. We achieved stable, faster-than-light travel in all 3 test runs." Choi Yuna smiled. "Excellent work, Dr. Bay. How long until we can install the drives in the rest of the fleet?" 6 months, Admiral. Maybe less if we increase production." She nodded with satisfaction. When the aliens had told humanity to stay in their solar system, they probably expected humans to give up on space travel. They were wrong. Human engineers and scientists had worked day and night to develop their own technology. They had studied every piece of alien equipment they could find, learned from every scan their sensors had made of alien ships. Dr. Bae Seojin had led the breakthrough. He was young, but brilliant, and he refused to accept that humans were too primitive for space travel. His quantum drive designs were actually more advanced than what the aliens used. The aliens traveled between stars, but human ships could now do it faster. "Any word from the deep space monitoring stations?" Choi Yuna asked. "Yes, Admiral. Captain Nam Yunji reports unusual activity in the Kalari border systems. It looks like they're watching us." The aliens had been watching Earth constantly since the rejection. Human sensors could detect their scout ships hiding behind asteroids and in the outer planets of the solar system. At first, it had made Earth's leaders nervous. But as the months passed, they realized the aliens were not preparing to attack. They were just watching, waiting to see what humans would do. What humans did surprised everyone, including themselves. In the Deep Space Monitoring Station near Pluto, Captain Nam Yunji studied the latest sensor readings. Her job was to track alien ship movements and learn everything she could about alien technology. But lately, she had been discovering something much more interesting. "Computer, show me the files on alien cultural behavior," she said. The screen filled with data she had collected over the past 2 years. At first, she had only looked for military information: how many ships the aliens had, what weapons they used, how fast they could travel. But slowly, she had started noticing patterns in their behavior that had nothing to do with military strategy. The Vorthak ships always traveled alone. They never helped each other, even when one ship was damaged. The Kalari moved in huge groups, but the ships in each group were identical, no individual differences at all. The Threx ships were covered in weapons, but their crews never seemed to take leave or rest. "Something's wrong with them," she said to her science officer, Dr. Kang Ji-won. "Look at these behavioral patterns. No cooperation among the Vorthak, no individuality among the Kalari, no rest or relaxation among the Threx." Dr. Kang Ji-won was Earth's expert on alien psychology. She had spent years trying to understand how alien minds worked. "I've been thinking the same thing, Captain. These aren't the behaviors of healthy civilizations." "What do you mean?" "On Earth, even our most logical people still cooperate when they need help. Even our most organized groups still have individual personalities. Even our hardest working people take time to rest and enjoy life. But these aliens seem to have eliminated all of that." Captain Nam Yunji looked at the data again. "The Council species called us emotionally weak. But what if they're emotionally dead?" Dr. Kang Ji-won had been working on a project that she hoped might change everything. Instead of trying to contact the alien governments, she had been broadcasting messages directly to alien populations. Her messages were different from anything the aliens had ever heard. "This is Dr. Kang Ji-won of Earth," her latest broadcast began. "We know you're listening to our transmissions. We want you to know that we don't hate you for rejecting us. We're sad that we couldn't be friends. But we understand that you're afraid of emotions. We want you to know that emotions don't have to be frightening. They can be beautiful. She had been sending these messages for 3 years. At first, there had been no response. But lately, alien monitoring stations had been recording and studying every word. Some alien ships had even changed course to get closer to Earth's transmissions. "We know you once had emotions too," she continued in her latest message. "We've studied your ancient art and literature. We've seen the ruins of your old cities. You were once like us, capable of love, joy, sadness, and hope. We don't know what made you give up these feelings, but we want you to know it's not too late to find them again." The message was broadcast across the galaxy. In alien monitoring stations, technicians recorded every word. Some of them had to stop working and take breaks. They didn't understand why the humans' words made them feel strange inside. Back on Earth, humanity was changing too. The knowledge that they were alone in a galaxy full of emotionally dead civilizations had made humans appreciate their feelings even more. Art and music flourished like never before. People worked harder to help each other. Families spent more time together. President Lim Dong-yun had made emotional health a priority for all of Earth's space programs. "If our emotions are what make us different from the aliens," he announced in a speech, "then we must make sure we never lose them. Every human who goes into space must remember what makes us human." The effect on human space exploration was remarkable. Human colony ships didn't just carry supplies and equipment. They carried musicians, artists, teachers, and storytellers. Human colonies weren't just places to mine resources or conduct research. They were places where human culture could grow and flourish. Commander Shin Woo-jin led the colony ship program. He had been a military officer during the First Contact, and the aliens' dismissal of human emotions had made him angry. But over the years, his anger had turned into determination. "We're not just building colonies," he told his colonists. "We're building examples. Every human settlement must show the galaxy what a civilization with emotions can accomplish." The results were impressive. Human colonies were more creative, more adaptable, and more successful than alien settlements. When problems arose, humans worked together to solve them. When colonists felt lonely or afraid, others helped them feel better. When discoveries were made, everyone celebrated together. The aliens noticed. Their monitoring reports grew longer and more detailed. They studied human art, music, and literature. They analyzed human social structures and family relationships. They tried to understand how a species that cried and laughed and loved could be so successful in space. Minister Yoon Somi was in charge of Earth's intelligence services. Her job was to learn everything she could about alien civilizations. What she discovered troubled her deeply. "The suicide rates in alien populations are astronomical," she reported to the Earth Council. "Depression and social collapse are common throughout alien space. Birth rates are dropping on every alien world." "How do you know this?" asked President Lim Dong-yun. "We've been intercepting their medical and social reports. They think their communications are secure. But our new quantum computers can break their codes. What we're seeing is a galaxy in crisis." The reports painted a disturbing picture. The Vorthak had eliminated emotions to prevent irrational decisions, but without emotions, they had also eliminated creativity and cooperation. Their civilization was slowly grinding to a halt. The Kalari had created hive minds to eliminate individual suffering, but they had also eliminated individual joy and achievement. Young Kalari were beginning to resist the hive-mind connection, leading to social unrest. The Threks had suppressed emotions to become perfect warriors, but without emotions, they had no reason to fight except habit. Their society was becoming increasingly violent and self-destructive. "They're dying," Minister Yoon Somi concluded. "All 3 species are slowly destroying themselves by eliminating emotions." Meanwhile, humanity continued to grow stronger. The rejection by the Galactic Council had hurt, but it had also freed humans from trying to conform to alien expectations. They could develop their own path to the stars. Dr. Song Mirai had developed new technologies inspired by human creativity. Human ships were not just faster than alien ships, they were more beautiful. Human cities were not just more efficient than alien cities, they were more inspiring. Human art was spreading throughout the galaxy through entertainment broadcasts that alien populations secretly watched. "They told us emotions were weakness," Dr. Song Mirai said in an interview. "But emotions are what drive innovation. When we love something, we work harder to protect it. When we hope for something better, we find ways to achieve it. When we feel sad about problems, we're motivated to solve them. Colonel Han Ji-seok commanded Earth's defense forces. The aliens had warned humanity not to leave their solar system, but humans were now exploring far beyond it. His job was to protect human ships from alien interference. They haven't tried to stop us. Dr. Oh Tai-hyun had always been fascinated by ancient civilizations. As Earth's leading anthropologist, he had spent years studying how human cultures developed and changed over time. When the aliens rejected humanity, many people focused on building new technology or expanding into space. But Dr. Oh had a different idea. He wanted to understand the aliens themselves. There has to be more to their story, he told his research team at the University of Earth's Galactic Studies Department. Species don't just evolve without emotions. Something must have happened to make them this way. For 3 years, Dr. Oh and his team had been secretly studying alien archaeological data. Human intelligence services had provided them with stolen alien records, ancient texts, and historical databases. What they found changed everything humanity thought about the Galactic Council. Professor, called his assistant, Dr. An Ha-young, from across the research lab. You need to see this. I've found something incredible in the Vorthak historical records. Dr. Oh hurried over to her workstation. On the screen was a translation of an ancient Vorthak text, written thousands of years ago. The language was flowery and poetic, nothing like the cold, logical speech of modern Vorthak. Listen to this, Dr. An Ha-young said, reading from the translation. My heart sings like the morning stars when I see your face. The joy in your eyes makes the twin moons seem dim. My love for you burns brighter than the great sun. Dr. Oh stared at the screen in amazement. This is Vorthak writing? Are you sure? Completely sure. The language patterns match perfectly. But look at the date. This was written over 5,000 years ago. Dr. Oh sat down heavily in his chair. The Vorthak were once capable of love poetry. They had emotions, just like humans do. Over the following weeks, Dr. Oh's team made discovery after discovery. Ancient Vorthak records showed a civilization full of artists, musicians, and philosophers. Their cities had been full of gardens and beautiful buildings. Their literature spoke of love, hope, dreams, and wonder. But something had changed. Around 3,000 years ago, the tone of Vorthak records became different. Dr. Yang Ji-hoon, another member of the research team, found the key document that explained everything. It was a civil war, he announced during a team meeting. The Vorthak had a massive civil war that lasted for centuries. According to these records, it started because of what they called emotional excess. Different groups of Vorthak had different ideas about art, religion, and politics. The arguments became fights. The fights became wars. Dr. Oh studied the records carefully. How did it end? The survivors decided that emotions were the cause of all conflict, Dr. Yang Ji-hoon explained. They created a new government based purely on logic. They used technology to suppress their emotional centers. Within a few generations, they had eliminated feelings entirely. They chose to become emotionless, Dr. Oh said quietly. It wasn't natural evolution. It was a deliberate decision to avoid the pain of conflict. The discovery about the Vorthak led Dr. Oh's team to investigate the other council species. What they found was even more disturbing. Dr. Jin Yusok specialized in Kalari studies. The insect-like aliens had always claimed that their hive mind was a natural evolution, a superior form of consciousness. But the historical records told a different story. The Kalari used to be individuals, Dr. Jin Yusok reported. Each one had their own thoughts, dreams, and personalities. They lived in small family groups and had rich cultural traditions. What changed? Asked Dr. Oh Plague, Dr. Jin Yusuk said grimly. A terrible disease that killed billions of Kalari over several centuries. The survivors were so traumatized by losing their loved ones that they couldn't bear the pain of individual existence. They used biological technology to link their minds together. So they would never have to feel the pain of losing someone again, Dr. An Ha-young said softly. Exactly. The hive mind wasn't evolution. It was a desperate attempt to escape grief. The story of the Threx was the most shocking of all. Commander Kim Jun-ho, now working as a military historian, had been studying Threk's warrior culture. What he found contradicted everything the aliens had told humanity about themselves. The Threks weren't always warriors, he announced during a meeting with Dr. O's team. In fact, they were once the most peaceful species in the galaxy. The ancient Threks had been philosophers and artists. Their society had been built around emotional expression and creative achievement. Their leaders had been chosen not for their strength in battle, but for their wisdom and compassion. What happened to them? Dr. O asked. Revolution, Commander, Kim Jun-ho replied. About 2,000 years ago, a group of Threk's military officers decided that emotions made their people weak. They believed that only pure logic and warrior discipline could protect their civilization. They assassinated all the emotional leaders and took control of the government. They murdered their own artists and philosophers. Every single one. They called it the Great Cleansing. Within a generation, they had rebuilt their entire society around warfare and emotional suppression. Dr. O felt sick as he listened to the stories. So all three council species deliberately destroyed their own emotional heritage, and now they see humans as a threat, added Dr. An Ha-young, because we remind them of what they used to be. The team's discoveries were immediately reported to Earth's government. Minister Yoon Somi called an emergency meeting of the Earth Council to discuss the implications. This changes everything, President Lim Dong-yoon said after hearing the report. The aliens didn't reject us because we're inferior. They rejected us because we scare them. We represent everything they sacrificed, agreed Minister Yoon Somi. Every time they see humans expressing emotions, it reminds them of their own lost heritage. Commander Shin Woo-jin, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. If they chose to give up emotions, maybe some of them regret that choice. Maybe they want to find their feelings again but don't know how. Dr. O nodded eagerly. That would explain why they've been monitoring us so carefully. They're not just watching to make sure we don't become a threat. They're watching to see if emotional beings can really survive and prosper in space. And we've been proving that they can, added President Lim Dong-hyun. The discovery led to heated debates in Earth's government. Some officials wanted to use the information as leverage against the aliens. Others wanted to keep it secret. But Dr. O had a different idea. We should reach out to them, he suggested. Not to their governments, but to their people. There must be some aliens who remember the old ways or who question the current system. Dr. Song Mirai, now director of Earth's communications programs, supported the idea. We've been broadcasting to alien populations for years. Some of them are definitely listening. If we shared this historical information, it might help them understand their own past. Minister Yoon Somi was cautious. It could also make them see us as an even bigger threat. If we prove that we know their secrets, they might decide to attack us before we can use that knowledge against them. But President Lim Dong-hyun was convinced that Dr. O's approach was right. We've never tried to threaten the aliens or force them to change. We've only shown them what emotional beings can achieve. Maybe it's time to show them what they could achieve if they rediscovered their emotions. Commander Shin Woo-jin proposed a radical plan. Instead of just broadcasting information, we should send aid missions to alien territories, not military missions, humanitarian missions. We could help alien populations that are suffering from the effects of emotional suppression. That would be incredibly dangerous, warned Admiral Choi Yuna. The Council would see it as an invasion. Maybe, Commander Shin Woo-jin admitted. But what if we could help aliens rediscover emotions gradually? What if we could show them that feelings don't have to lead to destruction? Dr. O was excited by the possibility. We could start with medical aid. Our research shows that alien populations suffer from high rates of depression and social dysfunction. We could offer treatments that help them cope with these problems, without forcing them to change, added Dr. Song Mirai. We would just give them options they don't currently have. The debate continued for weeks. Meanwhile, Dr. O's team continued, studying alien history, looking for clues about individuals or groups who might be open to change. They found evidence of underground movements on various alien worlds, small groups who questioned the official policies about emotional suppression. On D. Vorthak Prime, there were secret societies that preserved ancient art and poetry. On Kalari worlds, some individuals were beginning to resist the hive-mind connection. In Threx space, there were reports of soldiers who refused to follow orders that seemed pointlessly cruel. They're already starting to change, Dr. O realized. Our existence alone is making some aliens question their way of life. We don't need to force change. We just need to support the change that's already beginning. President Lim Dong-hyun made the final decision. We'll implement Commander Shin Woojin's plan, but carefully. We'll start with small aid missions to alien populations that seem most open to contact. We'll offer help, not judgment. We'll show them what emotions can achieve, but we won't force them to feel. As Earth began preparing for the most ambitious diplomatic mission in human history, Dr. O continued his research. He had uncovered the aliens' G. Captain Ryu Jaemin stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Compassion as it approached the edge of Threx space. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Unlike military vessels, the Compassion carried no weapons. Instead, its cargo, holds, were filled with medical supplies, food, and something the galaxy had never seen before: emotional counselors. "Captain," called Lieutenant Lee Subin from the communications station, "we're receiving a transmission from the Threx border. Patrol. Put it on screen," Captain Ryu Jaemin replied. The view screen showed a massive Threx warrior, his scarred face twisted with suspicion. "Human vessel, you are entering restricted space. State your purpose or be destroyed." Captain Ryu Jaemin took a deep breath. This was the moment Earth's leaders had prepared for. "This is Captain Ryu Jaemin of the Earth vessel Compassion. We are here on a humanitarian mission. We've detected signs of plague on Threx colony world Cathara. We're offering medical assistance." The Threx commander's red eyes narrowed. "Humans are forbidden in council space. Leave immediately." "Commander," Captain Ryu Jaemin said gently, "we know your people are suffering. We're not here to fight or to threaten anyone. We just want to help." For a long moment, the Threx commander said nothing. Finally, he spoke again, his voice slightly less harsh. "Wait here. Do not move." The transmission ended. Captain Ryu Jaemin turned to his crew. "Remember, everyone, we're not here to judge them or change them by force. We're here to offer hope." Dr. Song Mirai, now serving as the mission's chief medical officer, looked up from her station. "The medical scans are confirmed, Captain. The plague on Cathara has already killed thousands of Threx. Their medical technology can't stop it." "But ours can?" asked Commander Kim Jun-ho, who served as the mission's security chief. "We think so," Dr. Song Mirai replied. "More importantly, we can help them deal with the emotional trauma that comes with losing so many people. That's something they've never had help with before." The Threx had always dealt with death by simply not feeling anything about it. But the plague on Cathara was so widespread that even their emotional suppression couldn't completely block the grief. Threx soldiers were beginning to show signs of what humans would call depression and trauma. After 6 hours of waiting, another Threx ship appeared. This one was smaller and carried medical symbols on its hull. The commander who appeared on screen was different from the first, older with fewer scars and eyes that seemed tired rather than angry. "I am Medical Prime Keth," the Threx said. "You claim you can help with the plague?" "We believe so," Captain Ryu Jaemin replied. "Our medical technology might be able to create a cure. But even if we can't stop the disease, we can help your people cope with the loss." "Cope?" "Medical Prime." Keth looked confused. "Threx do not need to cope. We simply continue." Dr. Song Mirai stepped forward. "With respect, Medical Prime, our studies show that your people on Cathara are showing signs of severe psychological distress. They may not show emotions, but the effects are still there." Medical Prime Keth was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "Follow my ship, but know this. If you attempt any hostile action, our entire fleet will destroy you." "Understood," Captain Ryu Jaemin replied. As they traveled toward Cathara, Dr. Song Mirai briefed her medical team. "Remember, the Threx have been trained never to show weakness. They won't cry or show grief the way humans do, but that doesn't mean they're not suffering." Dr. An Hayoung, who specialized in cross-species psychology, nodded. "We need to be very careful. If we push too hard or try to force them to feel emotions, they'll see us as attackers." When they arrived at Cathara, the scope of the disaster became clear. The planet's surface was covered with emergency medical facilities. Threx medical ships moved constantly between the planet and orbital stations. Even through their emotional suppression, the Threx medical personnel looked exhausted. Medical Prime Keth transported aboard the Compassion with 2 guards. He examined the human medical supplies with professional interest. "Your technology is different from ours," he admitted. "How do you know it will work on Threx biology?" "We don't," Dr. Song Mirai said honestly. "But we'd like to try. We've brought enough medicine to treat thousands of patients. If it works, we can make more." "And what do you want in return?" Medical Prime Keth asked suspiciously. "Nothing, Captain," Ryu Jamin replied. "We want to help because it's the right thing to do." The concept seemed to confuse the Threx medical officer. There must be strategic advantage. No species acts without purpose. "Our purpose is to reduce suffering," Dr. Song Mirai explained. "When we see others in pain, we want to help them feel better." Medical Prime. Keth stared at her for a long moment. "You feel pain for strangers?" "Yes," she replied simply. For the first time since the humans had met him, Medical Prime Keth showed something that might have been emotion. His harsh expression softened slightly. I do not understand this feeling, but the plague grows worse every day. We will accept your help." The human medical team worked around the clock on Cathara. The plague was indeed treatable with human medicine, but more importantly, the humans began to notice something the Threx had missed. The plague wasn't just a physical disease, it was causing severe psychological symptoms that the Threx medical system couldn't recognize or treat. Dr. An Hyung discovered the pattern while treating Threx soldiers who had lost their entire units to the plague. "They're showing classic symptoms of survivors' guilt and trauma," she reported to Dr. Song Mirai, "but they've been trained to suppress these feelings so completely that they don't even know they're feeling them." What's happening to them instead? Physical symptoms: headaches, fatigue, difficulty sleeping. Their bodies are trying to process emotions, but their minds won't let them. Dr. Song Mirai made a decision that would change everything. She approached Medical Prime Keth with a proposal. "The physical cure is working," she told him, "but we think we can help your people in another way. We've noticed that many of your soldiers are showing signs of psychological distress." "Threx do not experience psychological distress," Medical Prime Keth replied automatically. "I know that's what you've been taught," Dr. Song Mirai said gently. "But bodies don't lie. Your soldiers are suffering even if they can't express it. We'd like to help them learn healthy ways to process difficult experiences." Medical Prime. Keth looked confused and troubled. "You mean teach them to feel emotions?" "Not exactly. We want to teach them that having feelings isn't weakness, that processing grief and loss in healthy ways actually makes someone stronger, not weaker." The conversation was interrupted by an emergency alarm. A group of Threx soldiers had collapsed during duty, apparently from exhaustion. But when Dr. An Hyung examined them, she found something else. "They're not physically exhausted," she reported. "They're emotionally overwhelmed. The plague killed their friends and comrades, and they're trying so hard not to feel anything about it that they're making themselves sick." Dr. Song Mirai had an idea. "Medical Prime Keth, could you bring me the soldier who seems most affected?" A young Threx warrior was brought to the human medical facility. His name was Subprime Thek, and he could barely stand. According to his medical records, he had lost his entire squad to the plague. He had continued fighting for weeks afterward, showing no emotion, following orders perfectly. But now his body was shutting down. "Subprime Thek," Dr. Song Mirai said gently, "can you tell me about your squad?" "They died," he replied in the flat tone all Threx used. "Death is expected in warfare. It is not significant. But they were your friends, weren't they? You fought beside them for years." For just a moment, something flickered in the young Threx's eyes. "Friends is not a Threx concept." "What would you call them then?" Subprime Thek struggled with the question. "They were valuable. Their loss reduced our combat effectiveness." Dr. Song Mirei sat down beside him. On Earth, when we lose people who are important to us, we feel sad. It's a natural response. Fighting that sadness makes us sick. Sadness is weakness, Subprime Thek said, but his voice wavered slightly. Is it? Dr. Song Mirei asked. Or is sadness proof that someone mattered to you? That their life had meaning? For the first time, Subprime Thek looked directly at her. I do not understand. Let me show you something, Dr. Song Mirei said. She activated a small holographic projector that showed images from Earth. A human memorial service where people honored soldiers who had died in battle. These humans are honoring their fallen comrades, she explained. They cry not because they are weak, but because the people they lost were important to them. The tears show how much those lives mattered. Subprime Thek watched the images with growing confusion and something else, a feeling he couldn't name. They honor the dead by showing pain? They honor the dead by acknowledging the loss, by admitting that losing someone important hurts. Medical Prime. Keth had been watching the entire conversation. Now he stepped forward. What are you doing to him? I'm helping him process grief in a healthy way, Dr. Song Mirei replied. If he continues to suppress these feelings, he'll get sicker and sicker until he dies. And if he doesn't suppress them, he'll feel sad for a while. But then he'll heal, and he'll be stronger than before because he'll understand the true value of the comrades he serves with. For the first time in his life, Fleet Admiral Cho Sung-hoon stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense station, watching the largest alien fleet in galactic history approach the solar system. On the main display, thousands of ships from all three Council species moved in perfect formation toward Earth. It was a force that could destroy entire star systems. Admiral, reported Captain Moon Jae-won from the communication station. We're receiving a transmission from the Council fleet. Put it through! Admiral Cho Sung-hoon replied, his voice steady despite the overwhelming odds they faced. The image that appeared on screen showed all three council leaders standing together. Councillor Vextar of the Vorthok looked as coldly logical as ever. High voice Zelmoth of the Kalari buzzed with the combined anger of billions. War Prime Korth of the Threx glowed with battle fury. Humans of Earth, Vextar began. You have violated the terms of your containment. You have spread your emotional contamination throughout Council space. This ends now. Admiral Cho Sung-hoon activated Earth's Defense Fleet communication system, speaking to both the alien fleet and every human ship in the solar system. This is Fleet Admiral Cho Sung-hoon. We have never attacked your people. We have only offered help to those who were suffering. Your help is poison, Zelmoth buzzed angrily. You have corrupted our citizens with dangerous emotions. Order must be restored. War Prime Korth's voice was like grinding metal. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make your species suffer before we destroy you. We won't surrender, Admiral Cho Sung-hoon replied calmly. But we also won't attack you. We're going to do something else instead. The alien commanders looked confused. They had prepared for human surrender or human resistance. They had not prepared for a third option. All human ships, Admiral Cho Sung-hoon announced, begin Operation Last Hope. Across the solar system, human ships began broadcasting on every frequency the aliens used. But instead of threats or battle plans, they broadcast something the aliens had never heard before during wartime. Captain John Min-hee was aboard the human ship Harmony when she opened the broadcast that would change galactic history. Her voice was calm and sad as she spoke to the alien fleet. Citizens of the Galactic Council, she began, we know you're here to destroy us. We know you see our emotions as a threat to your civilizations. But before you attack, we want you to know something. We're not angry at you. We're sad for you. Dr. An Ha-young, broadcasting from the research station near Mars, continued the message. We've learned about your history. We know what you used to be before you gave up emotions. The Vorthak were once beautiful poets and artists. Your cities were full of gardens and music. Your people created wonders that inspired the entire galaxy. On the Council command ship, Councillor Vextar felt something strange when he heard those words. For just a moment, he remembered a poem his great-grandfather had written thousands of years ago. The memory was so vivid it made him pause. The human broadcasts continued. Dr. Jin Yuseok spoke about the Kalari. You were once individuals with your own dreams and hopes. Kalari artists created sculptures that captured the beauty of independent thought. Each Kalari was unique, special, irreplaceable. In the Kalari section of the fleet, something unprecedented happened. Individual Kalari began to remember what it felt like to have personal thoughts, personal dreams. The hive-mind connection wavered, as thousands of Kalari suddenly wanted to think for themselves. Commander Kim Junho spoke about the Threks. You were once a people of wisdom and peace. Threks philosophers taught the galaxy about compassion and understanding. Your leaders were chosen not for their strength in battle, but for their ability to love and protect others. War Prime Korth felt his carefully controlled rage falter. Deep in his mind, suppressed memories began to surface. He remembered stories his grandmother had told him about the old days, when Threk's children learned poetry instead of warfare. We know what happened to you, Captain John Minhee continued. You experienced terrible pain. Wars, plagues, betrayals. The suffering was so great that you decided never to feel anything again. You thought eliminating emotions would make you strong. But it didn't make you strong. It made you empty. On listening posts throughout the galaxy, aliens who had been secretly watching human broadcasts for years began to understand. The humans weren't condemning them. The humans were mourning for them. You see our tears and call them weakness, Dr. Song Mirai broadcast from her medical ship. But our tears are not weakness. They are proof that we understand the value of what you lost. We cry because we know how beautiful you could be if you remembered how to feel. In the alien fleet, something extraordinary began to happen. Soldiers and officers who had not felt emotions for generations suddenly found themselves overwhelmed by feelings they couldn't control. A Vorthak communications officer named Vel Thara suddenly remembered a song his mother used to sing. He hadn't thought about his mother in centuries. Now, the memory of her voice filled him with a longing so intense he had to stop working. A Kalari pilot named Zilmoth felt the hive-mind connection break as she remembered what it was like to be an individual. For the first time in her life, she had a thought that belonged only to her. The experience was terrifying and wonderful at the same time. A Threx warrior named Gorth Ek saw his hands shake as he remembered his little sister, who had been killed in the Great Cleansing. He had been taught that her death was necessary for the greater good. Now, he felt the grief he had never been allowed to express. We know you think emotions will destroy you, Captain John Minhee continued. But look around you. Look at what eliminating emotions has done to your civilizations. Your birth rates are falling. Your people are dying of despair. Your cultures are disappearing. Tactical Officer SEO Youngmin, monitoring the alien fleet from Earth's defense station, reported something impossible. Admiral, the alien ships are slowing down. Some of them have stopped moving entirely. Are they preparing to attack? Admiral Cho Sung-hoon asked. No, sir. It looks like they're having internal problems. We're detecting massive communication traffic within their fleet, but it's not military coordination. It sounds like arguments? Pilot Lim Hyeji, flying reconnaissance around the alien fleet, confirmed what everyone hoped but didn't dare believe. Admiral, I'm seeing ships break formation. Some of the alien crews appear to be crying. The human broadcasts had done something the aliens never expected. They had awakened emotions that had been suppressed for thousands of years. Across the Council fleet, aliens were remembering what they had lost, and the pain of that remembrance was overwhelming. On the Council command ship, the three leaders watched their fleet fall apart before their eyes. Ships were stopping in space as their crews became overwhelmed by emotions. Some ships were turning around and heading back toward Council space. Others were simply drifting, their crews too distraught to function. What is happening? High voice Zelmoth demanded. But for the first time in millennia, the hive mind could not provide an answer. Too many individual Kalari were thinking individual thoughts. Counselor Vextar stared at the tactical display, trying to understand what he was seeing. His logical mind told him to order the attack immediately. But another part of his mind, a part he thought had been eliminated long ago, kept thinking about poetry and music and the beauty his people had once created. War Prime Korth was having the worst crisis of all. The Threks had built their entire society around the idea that emotions were weakness. Now, faced with humans who were strong precisely because they felt emotions, he didn't know what to believe anymore. "Order the attack," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Sir," reported a Threx communications officer, "half our ships are not responding to commands. The other half are requesting permission to return to base." "This is impossible," Korth growled. "Threx do not retreat." But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't true anymore. His warriors were remembering what it felt like to fear, to grieve, to hope. And those feelings were making it impossible for them to continue a war they no longer understood. Captain John Minhee made one final broadcast. "Citizens of the Council, we offer you a choice. You can continue this attack and destroy us. But if you do, you'll be destroying the last species in the galaxy that remembers how to feel. You'll be eliminating the only example left of what you used to be." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Or you can stop. You can remember that emotions aren't your enemy. You can rediscover the beauty your ancestors knew. You can learn to feel again, without fear. The choice is yours," she concluded. "But whatever you decide, know that we forgive you. We understand your pain, and we will never stop believing that you can find your way back to who you really are." The broadcast ended. For long minutes, space was silent except for the confused chatter of alien crews who didn't know what to do next. Then, one by one, alien ships began to power down their weapons. Not because they were ordered to, but because their crews could no longer bring themselves to fire on the species that had shown them such compassion. War Prime Korth felt tears on his face for the first time in 2,000 years. The sensation was so alien and so overwhelming that he collapsed in his command chair. The war was over, but the real battle, the battle to rediscover what it meant, 1 year had passed since the day the galaxy changed forever. Counselor Yang Ji-hoon stood in what had once been a council interrogation chamber, now converted into a therapy room aboard Nexus Prime. Across from him sat a former Threx warrior named Gorthek, who was learning to process centuries of suppressed grief. "Tell me about your sister again," Yang Ji-hoon said gently. Gorthek's scarred hands trembled as he spoke. "Her name was Mirtheka. She was only 50 years old when they killed her during the Great Cleansing. She used to write songs about the stars." Tears flowed down the massive warrior's face. A year ago, such a display would have been impossible for any Threx. Now, it was part of his healing. "How does it feel to remember her?" Yang Ji-hoon asked. "It hurts," Gorthek admitted. "But it also feels right. Like I'm honoring her memory instead of pretending she never existed." Yang Ji-hoon nodded. "Pain can be healing when it's processed in healthy ways. Your sister would be proud to know you're finally grieving for her." Throughout the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Earth had established the Galactic Emotional Wellness Institute with centers on every major alien world. Human therapists worked alongside alien volunteers to help entire species rediscover their emotional heritage. Dr. Jin Yuseok ran the Kalari program from their homeworld. The insect-like beings faced unique challenges as they learned to think independently after millennia of hive mind connection. "I had my first individual dream last night," reported a young Kalari named Kilvera during a group session. "It was about flying alone through space, seeing things that only I could see." Other Kalari in the session looked amazed. The concept of having private experiences was still new to them. "How did it make you feel?" Dr. Jin Yuseok asked. "Lonely," Kilvera admitted, "but also free. Is it wrong to want experiences that belong only to me?" "Not at all," Dr. Jin Yuseok replied. "Individual experiences are what make each person unique and valuable. The hive mind taught you that unity was strength, but diversity of thought and feeling can be strength too." On the Vorthak homeworld, Dr. Oh Tae-hyun worked with aliens who were rediscovering their artistic heritage. The logical species had once been the galaxy's greatest poets and musicians, but they had destroyed all their art during their emotional purge. "I found something," announced Velthara, the communications officer, who had been one of the first, Vorthak, to remember emotions during the failed attack on Earth. He held up a data crystal. "It's a song my great-great-grandmother composed. I thought it was lost forever." The group gathered around as Velthara played the ancient Vorthak melody. The music was hauntingly beautiful, full of emotion and wonder. Several Vorthak began to cry as they heard the artistic voice of their ancestors. "We destroyed so much," whispered another Vorthak named Dexmira. "How can we ever forgive ourselves?" Dr. O. Taehyun had heard this question many times. "You can't change the past," he said, "but you can honor your ancestors by creating new art, new beauty. The artistic spirit isn't dead, it was just sleeping." On Earth, President Kang Mi-jin prepared for the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. The reformed Galactic Council had requested a formal conference to discuss humanity's place in the galaxy. But this time, the meeting would be very different from the first encounter. The conference was held in the same chamber where humanity had been rejected years earlier. But now, the atmosphere was completely changed. Instead of cold judgment, there was warmth and hope. Velthara, who now served as the reformed Vorthak representative, spoke first. "Humans of Earth, I must begin with an apology. When we first met you, we called your emotions weakness. We were wrong. We were not superior to you. We were afraid of you." President Kang Mi-jin listened with compassion. She had spent the past year learning about the aliens' tragic history. "You reminded us of what we had lost," Velthara continued. "Every time we saw you laugh or cry or love, it made us remember what we used to be. We rejected you because you showed us the emptiness of our own existence." Kilvera, now speaking as an individual Kalari rather than part of the hive mind, added her own apology. "We told ourselves that unity was perfection, but watching humans work together while still maintaining individual personalities showed us that true strength comes from diversity, not conformity." Gorthek, representing the reformed Threx government, spoke last. "We believed that eliminating emotions would make us invincible warriors. But humans showed us that the greatest strength comes from having something worth fighting for. Warriors who fight for love are stronger than warriors who fight from habit." President Kang Mi-jin stood to address the reformed council. "We accept your apologies, but more importantly, we're proud of the courage you've shown in rediscovering your emotions. Change is never easy, especially change this fundamental." "What do you propose for the future?" asked Velthara. "Partnership," President Kang Mi-jin replied. "Not the kind where one species dominates others, but true cooperation between equals. We can learn from each other. Humans can help you rediscover emotions, and you can teach us about technology and science we haven't yet developed." Dr. Song Mirei, now director of the Galactic Wellness Institute, presented her latest report. "The results have been remarkable. Birth rates are increasing on all council worlds. Suicide rates are dropping dramatically. Artistic and cultural renaissance is happening throughout the galaxy." Commander O. Insu, monitoring galactic security, reported on the broader changes. "Crime rates have dropped significantly in systems where emotional wellness programs have been implemented. When people have healthy ways to process feelings, they're less likely to act out destructively. But the most significant change was in how the galaxy approached conflict resolution. Instead of suppressing problems, species were learning to address them through communication and understanding." Captain Moon Jae-hwan had been assigned to oversee the first joint human-alien exploration missions. "Working together has been incredible," he reported. "Human creativity combined with alien technical knowledge is producing discoveries we never imagined possible. The galaxy was not only healing, it was growing stronger than it had ever been." As the conference concluded, Elder Park Gonho, Earth's oldest diplomat, found himself sitting on an observation deck with reformed alien leaders. They watched Earth turn slowly below them, blue and green and beautiful. "I have a question," said Velthara. "During the war, when our fleet came to destroy you, you could have fought back. Your defensive capabilities were impressive. Why didn't you?" Elder Park. Gunho smiled. "Because we realized something important. You weren't really attacking us. You were attacking the part of yourselves that you'd lost. Fighting you would have just confirmed your belief that emotions lead to violence. So instead, you showed us compassion, Kilvera said softly. We showed you what emotions really are, Elder Park Gyunho replied. Not weakness or chaos, but the foundation of everything that makes life worth living. Love, hope, creativity, empathy, these aren't flaws to be eliminated. They're gifts to be treasured. Gorthek looked puzzled. But how did you stay so strong while feeling so much? How did you endure pain without trying to eliminate the capacity for pain? Elder Park Gyunho thought for a moment before answering. Because we learned something your species forgot. The goal isn't to avoid pain, it's to grow from it. Every emotion, even the difficult ones, teaches us something important about ourselves and others. He gestured toward Earth below them. When we feel sadness, we learn the value of what we've lost. When we feel fear, we learn what we need to protect. When we feel joy, we learn what makes life beautiful. When we feel love, we learn why existence matters. You never tried to eliminate emotions because you understood they were part of being alive, Velthera said, finally understanding. Exactly, Elder Park Gyunho replied. We never forgot that feeling everything, pain and joy alike, is what makes us truly alive. Emotions aren't something to overcome. They're something to embrace. As the sun set over Earth, casting golden light across the observation deck, the reformed alien leaders began to understand what humanity had always known. Strength didn't come from eliminating weakness. It came from accepting all parts of yourself and learning to use them wisely. The galaxy had spent thousands of years believing that logic and emotion were enemies. Now they were learning that the greatest civilizations were built when both worked. Together in harmony, humanity had not conquered the galaxy through force or technology. They had healed it through the simple act of showing others that it was safe to feel again. The supposedly weak species had become the teachers of strength. And in learning to feel again, the galaxy had rediscovered what it truly meant to be alive. In the years that followed, artists would write songs about the day emotions returned to the stars. Scientists would study how emotional wellness improved every aspect of civilization. Historians would mark it as the beginning of the galaxy's true golden age. But Elder Park Gyunho knew the real victory was simpler than any of that. They had proven that love was stronger than fear, that hope was stronger than despair, and that the courage to feel was the greatest strength of all. The humans had been right all along. Emotions weren't humanity's weakness. They were life's greatest gift.